This is an explainer for the movie Fortuna's Eye 2019. Sit back and enjoy. Shinichiro Kiyama noticed that the hand of the passenger next to him was becoming transparent. Originally, he thought he was just dazzled and didn't take it too hard. Until the evening when he bumped into a transparent man. Curious, he wanted to find out. He quietly followed behind, but just came to an intersection. The man was hit by a speeding car. Shinichiro Kiyama realized that he had a pair of eyes that could see the lifespan of others. Shinichiro Kiyama was originally an auto mechanic. There was an air crash. His parents died instantly, but he miraculously survived. He wanted to save a girl, but unexpectedly, the accident happened again. This incident left a great psychological shadow on him. From then on, he became reclusive, no longer have in-depth contact with others, until the age of 16. And he met an auto repair shop owner, Tetsuya Endo. Because he is serious and responsible for his work, Tetsuya Endo is going to hand over the branch to him for management. But this also aroused the strong dissatisfaction of Daiki Kaneda. He even took the opportunity to push him directly to the ground, even if the phone is broken. Shinichiro can only endure silently in his heart. To fix the screen, he went to a digital store. But due to having suffered from selection disorder since childhood, the dazzling phone made him a little overwhelmed. Aoi Kiryu, a saleswoman, came over on her own initiative. Aoi treated him warmly. But when Shinichiro handed her the phone, but found that Aoi's hand has also become transparent, Shinichiro is very afraid. In a panic, he ran outside the store. He instantly remembered the accident of the transparent man. He felt how kind Aoi Kiryu is in the store. He didn't want any accidents to happen to Aoi. So Shinichiro summoned up the courage to invite her out for coffee. After work, Aoi came to the coffee shop they had agreed to. Shinichiro suddenly found that Aoi's hand had returned to normal. This means that his initiative to strike up a conversation successfully changed Aoi's fate. But he didn't tell Aoi the truth about what he saw, just saying that you might have saved someone's life. Not long after, something happened in Shinichiro's store. Daiki Kaneda often secretly drives the luxury cars of the customers in the store to take girls out. The customer complained about it. After Tetsuya Endo found out, the two quarreled. Tetsuya Endo was going to fire him on the spot. At this time, Shinichiro suddenly found that Tetsuya Endo's palm had become transparent. Shinichiro realized that something was wrong. He lied about inviting Tetsuya Endo to dinner that night. In fact, it is to stay by his side. He hoped to protect Tetsuya's safety. Not long after, Shinichiro found that Tetsuya's face began to be transparent. This means that danger is imminent. Sure enough, Daiki Kaneda, who was fired in the next second, swung out. Shinichiro immediately turned around to help Tetsuya resist the fatal blow. He was relieved to see that Tetsuya's hands were back to normal, but his heart suddenly ached again. Then he passed out on the spot. When he opened his eyes again, he had already arrived at the hospital. After a doctor's examination, nothing abnormal was found. It may be due to excessive pressure. They told him to go home and rest for a few days. That's when Shinichiro saw a little girl with transparent arms. He just wanted to go up and check it out, but the doctor stopped him. Shinichiro's face showed confusion. It turns out that the Dr. Mitsuko Endo also has this ability. Mitsuko explained that this eye is the ancient Greek mythology of Fortuna. Only those who have lived through life and death and survived have similarities. You can see the future of others. But don't try to get involved in changing the fate of others. Otherwise, there will be a terrible price to pay. He suddenly felt that life was very fragile. If you want to do something, you must have the courage. Don't regret this. So he mustered up the courage to find Aoi and ask her out. But he didn't expect Aoi to like him too easily. Aoi's smile and company made him lively and cheerful. The two often held hands and went shopping together. Afterwards, he interceded with Tetsuya Endo and recruited the fired Daiki Kaneda back. But as soon as he went out, his chest hurt again. Mitsuko told him that this was the price Shinichiro paid for saving others' fates. His coronary vessels have narrowed. If there is a next time, then he will surely die. He reminded him that if death happens to you, you can't see yourself become transparent. It was Shinichiro who decided to never interfere in the fate of others again. The time came for the next day. A rich second-generation customer, Kazuyuki Utsui, came to pick up his car. At this time, Shinichiro found that Kazuyuki's hands had turned transparent. But then he remembered Mitsuko's words. So he still handed the key to Kazuyuki. It didn't take long for the news to spread that Kazuyuki had died in a car accident. Shinichiro blamed himself very much. He regretted his indifference. The accident reminded him again of the plane crash he had suffered as a child. He could have saved a little girl in a plane crash. But when he tried to rescue, suddenly a second accident occurred. There was nothing he could do when he saw the girl underneath, and he blamed himself for that for years. He didn't want this useless ability at all. On the way to work the next day, Shinichiro suddenly found that everyone on the subway had become transparent. It was very disturbing. He went to the park and started thinking about why the passengers were going to die. But just then, he found that all the children's hands became transparent. He picked up the flyers on the side. Only then did he learn that the kindergarten organized a spring outing the day after tomorrow. They needed to take the subway that had just arrived. So the children's hands had also become transparent. Shinichiro suddenly remembered Aoi. She took this subway every day. He didn't want those lovely children to die. He didn't want his girlfriend to die because of it. So he rushed to Aoi's house. As expected, his hands had also become transparent. He made up his mind. Even if he had to sacrifice himself, he must protect Aoi. On the second day, Shinichiro lied about taking Aoi on a trip. He asked her to take leave and not go to work at the store, so she could avoid the train that was going to crash. Aoi hesitated for a moment, but finally agreed. Shinichiro then called the kindergarten again, hoping the principal could cancel tomorrow's spring outing. However, the principal regarded him as mentally ill and ignored him. At this time, Shinichiro's heart suddenly ached again. He remembered Mitsuko. He wanted Mitsuko to check if he had become transparent. However, Mitsuko did not give any answer. He just advised him not to do anything reckless, because he was just an ordinary person and had no right to play God. Shinichiro still had the answer in his heart. He knew he was doomed. After saying goodbye to friends one by one, he handed over the store to Daiki Kaneda to take care of it again. Finally, he wrote a letter to Aoi. And after he did that, he got a text from Aoi. She had asked for leave because a colleague was sick, so she had to take the subway to get to work. Their travel plans together were cancelled. Shinichiro ran toward the station like crazy, trying to stop Aoi from taking that subway. It's a pity that he was still a step late. Aoi was already on the train. After the two looked at each other, the subway began to move slowly. So Shinichiro hurriedly took a taxi. He arrived at the next subway stop as fast as possible. The train had not yet entered the station. He looked around. He saw that the staff working around the crane had also become transparent. This allowed him to guess what the problem was. The accident must have been caused by the starter collapsing, leading to the subway hitting head-on, causing so many casualties. So he took out a signal stick and jumped onto the tracks. He wanted to use his own body to stop the train. The driver saw someone on the track. The driver braked immediately, due to the vibration caused by the incoming train and the working crane. The road floor collapsed. The crane also hit the track. When Aoi got off the train to check, Shinichiro was kneeling on the tracks. He had risked his life to save everyone on the train, but no one knew what he had done. On the way back, Aoi met the children from the kindergarten. At that moment, she realized that Shinichiro's choice was correct. At the end of the story, Aoi also recalled a past event. It turns out that Aoi was the little girl who was trapped during the plane crash back then. It was Shinichiro who rescued Aoi from under the iron plate. However, after that, both of them fainted. Shinichiro had forgotten that memory. So Aoi had been looking for Shinichiro. After the plane crash, Aoi also gained the ability to see through the fate of others. When she saw in the mirror that Shinichiro's arm had become transparent, she already guessed that Shinichiro was planning to sacrifice himself to save her. So when she looked at the affectionate Shinichiro, she shed tears of sadness. She only hoped that Shinichiro could live a good life, to stop Shinichiro from dying to save her. She lied that her colleague was sick and asked for leave as an excuse to take the doomed subway. She hadn't anticipated it. Shinichiro ultimately sacrificed himself to save everyone. Afterwards, Aoi found the letter that Shinichiro had written to her. It said that no matter how many times the same fate repeated itself, he would always make the same choice. If you had that ability, would you stand up to stop the subway tragedy in the story? That's the end of the story. See you next time.